Hello, I'm Jonathan Ashworth, former Labour politician, now a podcaster. But throughout my time in Parliament, I always championed the cause of children of alcoholics. I know how healing it can be to find a fellow thread of fellow feeling. I know how painful it can be to feel alone. And through these conversations, I want to shine a light on experiences too often kept in the shadows. Hello and welcome to COA Lives with me, Jonathan Ashworth, the podcast when we're talking about all the issues impacting children of alcoholics. And my guest this week is Ian Stringer, you'll have heard his voice if you're a big football fan. He's a commentator for matches with talkSPORT, with Sky. Of course, if you're a Leicester City fan, you'll be very familiar with Ian because he was a commentator following Leicester City at BBC Leicester. He's a big Leicester City fan. He's from Leicester, and I, of course, was the MP for Leicester South for many, many years. But I'm not here to talk to him about Leicester City or Leicester South. I'm here to talk to him about being a child of an alcoholic today. So, Ian, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Nice to meet you, actually, because I have heard your voice on the radio. I think I've seen you on social media from our Leicester days, but I've never actually met you in person.
Likewise.
Which is funny, really, given that we're both sort of Leicester-based people and our connections to Leicester. I never knew that this was an issue that had impacted you and a cause that you were interested in. So I don't even know the circumstances of your story. So, Ian, why don't you just share for us now why you got involved in the cause of children of alcoholics and what it means to you?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And huge asterisks, I find sharing helps me. And some people don't. I do. And I lost my late mother in 2016. And my mum, Christine, was an alcoholic. She passed away on the 4th of May, 2016. Her body was found on the 27th of June, 2016. She needed identifying by a dentist twice.
Really?
Yeah. And that remains a challenge. She went 7 weeks undiscovered. I let people's creative brain suss out what the temperature in the UK in May and June does to a body. And I remember getting the call from the coroner saying, we have a body, we believe it to be your mum, but we need to identify her. The odontologist hasn't been able to identify her via her dental records. So in order to release her body, what remains of it, we need to get some help. And so I remember penny dropped one day. Do you know, initially when I found out she'd passed away, I was okay because I met with my sister. She died in the May, we found her in the June. I met with my sister in the January that year, 2016. We met, and few of your listeners and viewers will get this, but you certainly will. We met at the Clock Tower in Leicester, which is where everybody meets.
Yeah.
And my sister called me and she said, Mum wanted to see me. So I turned up at the Clock Tower with her. She said, can you support me and be there? I said, she'll probably be drunk, sweetheart, you know that. She said, yeah, maybe. And she was. And so we had a coffee on Humberston Gate and went down to St Margaret's bus station in Leicester and put her in a taxi to get a train because the bus was going to be a few hours later, and I knew what had happened in the intervening hours. She'd find somewhere. And I said to my sister that day, as she drove away in the taxi, I specifically told the taxi driver to go straight to the train station. I said, that would be the last time you see our mother outside of a box. And it was, unfortunately. When the call came in, I was okay. I was fine. Called the dentist that we had in Beaumont Leys in Leicester. Because my mum, God rest her soul, she was funny. She was funny. She could pull people down a peg or two with her tongue. She was sharp. think it's helped me as a broadcaster, actually. She used to have a golden tooth that she got on the NHS in the 80s. And she used to say to me, when it gets really bad, son, we'll rip this out, we'll have a few quid, we'll be all right. I remember telling the coroner, I said, her gold tooth. If you're struggling with her dental records, she had an enormous gold tooth. You must be, and they said, the dental records we have don't represent that. I said, right. So I contacted the dentist and said, this has happened. Have you got dental records from the 90s, late 80s? Yes, we have. They spoke to the coroner, and the odontologist at the second time of asking was able to identify Christine Chadwick, and they pronounced that she'd passed away, but we could never get a cause of death because all they were able to recover, Jonathan, was bones. There was an infestation of flies in her flat, and that was my mum's skin, and it hurts me a lot. I don't drink. I never have.
What an amazingly brave thing that you've just done there, to talk about such a harrowing, upsetting experience.
Just wanted to pick her up, even, and she would have said, my mum was, gallows humour was my mum.
Yeah.
If she were here right now, she'd have gone, son, I'm dead. Don't worry about it. You're dead, you're dead. That's what she'd say. But it's dignity. And what upsets me is that in the bathroom, on the cold concrete floor, she was in a refuge flat where I think Women's Aid and a crisis team had put her into in Lincoln. And it's just not being able to give. As a boy, the only woman you guarantee that you'll love all your life is your mum. And through thick and thin, I still love my mum now. What was difficult, Jonathan, at the time was that because of my relative public profile, I did a television show in the mid-2000s called The Apprentice, and that had a bit of notoriety to it. Infamous, you would probably say, was that my mum's death was picked up by some of the tabloid newspapers, and one in particular where the comments section is quite prevalent. Comments like, how can you call yourself a son by leaving your own mother on the bathroom floor for 7 weeks? How dare you call yourself a representative of the family? And somebody actually from Alcoholics Anonymous put something in the comments and said, to support me, that actually when it gets to a point, we advise that the children, if they can, do walk away, and they do put a barrier there, because until the person suffering from the disease wants help, they're just leading themselves down a garden path where they're just going to get hurt. And that was why I chose, before my mum's death, to withdraw from our relationship.
Yeah.
The last text I sent my mum was, I just want my mum back. She texted me to wish me happy Christmas. I said, I just want my real mum back. And that the way that was reported was a challenge for me. But actually what that lady from Alcoholics Anonymous put on that day was really helpful, because it supported me in that I wasn't there, and I felt a lot of guilt, Jonathan, that I wasn't there to metaphorically and physically scoop her up from this piddly little 1-bedroom ground floor flat concrete jungle she was in. But I couldn't, because I got 3 kids, and if they got closer to Nana, they'd have wondered what happened with Nana. There were times when they did see her, we'd go out for a family meal and she'd be shaking because she hadn't had a drink for a few hours. And alcohol killed my mum, but it took away my hero. I was a mummy's boy. I was a real mummy's boy, and I miss her.
And how old was she?
2016, she was 54. She would have been 55 on December the 13th. I'm crap at Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm not good at Christmas. And that's tough for my kids. December the 13th was always a significant day. It's her birthday. 12 days before Christmas, we'd always put the tree up, and I followed suit. Now it hurts me to do it, so I'm trying to work hard with that. But yeah, she was 54. 3 kids, a couple of husbands, domestic violence, not from my father, might I add, but from, she remarried, and it's not easy when you see your mum headbutted on the doorstep and you're so scared you miss dial 999 because you're shaking, and you've got your 2-year-old brother in your arms.
How old were you?
12, 11, 12, in Beaumont Leys in Leicester. They'd just been drinking and drinking and drinking, and it got violent, and she was on the doorstep, but she was the street side. He was the house side. It happened a lot. You know, Noel Gallagher always says people talk to him about, oh, you grew up in poverty, you grew up with difficulty, you grew up around drugs. And he always says, but that was normal. The council estate I was on, my neighbours had problems. Those neighbours had the same, and to us it was normal. To me it was normal. And the commotion was bad that night. My baby sister was asleep. My brother was downstairs on the sofa crying, and I was halfway down the stairs. And I could see my mum drunk, you know, that drunk look. You can always smell the alcohol, the lager coming up the stairs. And I thought, I've got to do something. But he's standing at the door. So I grabbed my brother. He was 2. Grabbed my brother, ran past him. But just before, he's head-butted her in the face. And ran into the next door neighbour's house. They were out trying to help on the street. Got into the house, picked up the receiver, hit the first 9, and I got it. You know, the old-fashioned phones, corded phones when we had landlines. Hit the first 9, but I was shaking so much that I missed the second 9, and I dialed 8. I remember I had to put the phone back down, pick the phone back up, and dial 999 with a shaking hand. And the police came and they helped, and they stopped the violence for a while, but it would return.
And this was the house you were living in?
Yeah, it's family home. You never know. You never know what you're going to come down to in the morning. Broken glass, broken plates, whatever.
And they were both drinking?
Yeah, both as bad as each other. Don't worry about, my old dear could handle herself. I saw her stick a few on him as well. Football awards presentation, what was ultimately the reason I left my mum's care when I was 13. There was an awards presentation in a little village called Anstey in Leicester. Football team were there. Football was my retreat. Football was my safe place.
Yeah.
I loved it. I played, I was decent, I was all right. Goal scorer, striker. Team called, I played for Syston in Leicestershire. I played for a team called William Baker Juniors. And yeah, that was my retreat. And we were at a football presentation, and yeah, they've both been at it. Drink. And they were both stunk of alcohol, and I got out to the car park and I saw them punching each other. Got in the car, little mini metro. You'll remember little mini metros. Yeah. He was in the front, driver. My mum was in the passenger. My sister to my left, 2. My brother to my right, 3. And I'm in the middle. And I remember thinking, probably about 5 miles home, he ain't going to be able to drive this car home. And I remember piping up, and fair play to him, just started the car. I said, I want to get out. And they were rowing, going at each other, venom, bang, 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 stinging of alcohol. And he said, Ian wants to get out. So he turned the ignition off. I got out. I got my brother and sister out, and thankfully, the police turned up and stopped it all. And that night, I left my mum's care. I didn't go and live with my mum again.
So where did you go?
I went to live with my dad, who I adore, and we've become a lot closer over the years, and he's a wonderful, wonderful father. But he was a publican. He was a landlord of pubs.
Right.
The irony. And you know, doesn't have a drinking problem, is a good quality father. Gave me good parents, my stepmom. I live with my stepmom. But I moved out of Leicestershire and I moved to Hertfordshire, a little town called Harpenden. Went to school there and resettled, but I left my little brother and sister, and I left my mum. And
did you feel guilty that you'd left them behind?
That's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah, I went and got counselling in. When I got some counselling in 2016, I saw counsellors with a charity called Relate, who are relationship counsellors down on Welford Road in Leicester. And they helped me with my relationship with my late mum. And yeah, loss and guilt were the 2 things that we talked about a lot. And it was guilt that I couldn't take my brother and sister with me. And it was guilt that I couldn't. And my counsellor used to say this to me a lot. I couldn't save my mum. My counsellor would say to me, you're a child. Your job is not to save your mum. But I wanted to save my mum because it had always been me and my mum. My mum and dad split when I was a very, very young boy. I was 2. Wasn't until I was a baby.
Was it because of the drinking?
I'll defer that one to my dad.
Right.
I don't know. My dad was in the army.
Yeah.
And posted in Belfast, and and different places, and it was a challenge. But again, the army's got a drinking culture, certainly in the 80s. Here's an insight into my mum. So my dad was posted in Belfast in the army in the early 80s, a challenging part of the world at that time.
Definitely, of course.
And so my dad had to, if he was on early shifts, he'd had to walk to the barracks to work. And, you know, squaddies around that time had targets on their backs. And so my late mother, God bless her, she'd walk him to work, and she'd walk in front of him. And my dad would say, "No, you're not. What are you doing? Stay at home. I'm all right. I'll go." She said, "There might be troubles in Northern Ireland, and there might be some stupid people trying to kill British soldiers. They ain't stupid enough to kill a soldier's wife. So if I walk in front of you, I'm going to be safe. You're going to be safe. We'll be fine." And that was my mum. No, my dad was good as gold. Moved in with him, lived in the pubs, lived above pubs. So then I got to see a totally different side of alcohol, which was people wasting their money, wasting their time, standing in a bar at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, getting drunk. So I'd never had a really good experience of alcohol. But my dad was ultimately my saviour. And at the age of 13, I left my mum's care, tried to go back regularly and see as much as I could, but yeah, it spiraled and got difficult for her. Ultimately, she left the partner and the violence, but more challenges came from that. You know, she was an addict. She never admitted it, by the way.
Did she have a job?
Yeah, my mum didn't do anything. So she was an overlocker. So Leicestershire is very prevalent in the hosiery industry, in the kind of clothing industry.
Yeah, famous for it.
Yeah, indeed. So she used to work in some of the fabric houses in Leicester city centre, kind of in and around the St Margaret's area. There's quite a lot of manufacturing. And she was an overlocker, so the seams that you'd get on your clothing, and I'd sit at home. Do you know, when you tell people I grew up on a council estate, they think, "Oh, poor you." No, they were great days. You know, the house at the bottom of Gresley Close on Beaumont Lees Lane in Leicester was, you look at it and think, "Oh, I loved it."
Yeah.
Because it was me and my mum. And she'd be overlocking, making gloves, and I'd be in the bag, and she'd slowly throw them in, and it'd fill the bag up, and they'd come up to my neck, and you could smell the wool and smell the oil from the machine.
Yeah.
And I felt part of it. She'd go, "Here's another one, son," and throw them in. So she was an overlocker. That's what she did. My mum would do anything to earn money. She'd work at Tesco's in Beaumont Lees at 10 o'clock and stack shelves. She worked as a cleaner. She'd do anything she could to make ends meet. She prioritised her kids. And I remember there was one time when I was a very, very young boy. I was probably 5. I remember. She came home, she had a black eye. I said, "Mum, what happened?" "Yeah, don't worry about it, son, don't worry about it." She had like a bruising and cut on her eye. "Don't worry about it, son." She had a pint of milk in her hand, like the old kind of delivered by the milkman pint of milk. And anyway, I had some cereal cracked on. "So what happened to your eye?" She went, "Oh, I had a scrap." "Who with?" "The neighbour." She'd run out of money, which happened a lot. And she had a fight with a neighbour and stole her milk so that she could feed her child. Because I had cereal to eat, didn't have any milk, and she had no money. And when I say no money, Jonathan, I mean she had no money. Nothing. Didn't have 50p. So she nicked the milk from a neighbour and won the fight, came home with a bruise, came home with a scar. Didn't go great. We don't endorse theft, kids. It's not what we do. She had to feed her child. And rightly or wrongly, it was wrong. She would do whatever she could to feed her kids. And you know, the hardest part of losing her is that, you know, behind the mask of alcohol, there's this incredibly doting mum. She'd take me on my paper round on a Sunday morning in the car to deliver my papers so that I didn't have to go on my bike at 5 a.m. on a Sunday, thumbing through the news of the world while I did it so that she could entertain herself. She'd take me to football training, take me to football and Skegness tours. She'd do anything. But then when alcohol bites, she'd turn into a monster.
Did you ever talk to her about it, particularly when you're older?
The last conversation I had with her, I did, when we met at Bruciani's in Leicester. Coffee house, legendary. Look at that little smile.
Famous.
You remember it?
Not there anymore.
No, it's not, unfortunately. And I remember sitting there and I thought, I need to say something as far down that you're an alcoholic road as I could. Because it's really hard for a kid, because this is your idol. You sat down with your idol, and essentially you're going, you've got something wrong with you.
Yeah.
I'm sat there with my sister, and she's clearly drunk opposite us, and she's saying, oh, I'm a terrible mum. You deserve better than me. I remember saying to her, you're right. She does. My little sister does. And all we want is for you to want to get better. We'll do the rest. Don't worry about that. We'll do the rest. She turned at my house once. She called me. I need picking up. I'm in Nottingham. I've got liver cancer. All right. Picked her up, took her home, thinking my mum's got liver cancer. I said, Mum, tomorrow we're going to go to the hospital, me and you, and we're going to get you treatment. We're going to get it sorted. And I'm going to be shoulder to shoulder with you. Put her into bed, spare room in the house. Came down the next morning, she was gone. She'd gone and gotten a train and gone back to where she lived in ultimately what was Skegness. She lived in Skegness in a caravan, which she had to sell to fund drink. And it's the not wanting help, Jonathan, that I found so hard.
Yeah.
I said to him, Bruciani's, we want to help.
How old are you at this point in Bruciani's?
It's 2016. It's the year she died.
Right.
So I'm mid-30s. I remember saying, yes, she deserves better. She deserves a better mum. I'm not good enough. Correct. You're not. I am. I'm the best dad in the world to my 3 kids. But she deserves better. But you've got to want to get better. And what hurts me the most, Mum, is that you don't want to get better. We can get you better, but you've got to want to. And I always describe it as 100 meters. And she had 6 siblings, my mum. 3 kids. We're all on the finish line. She's in the starting blocks. And all we're saying is get out of those blocks. Get a meter in, I'm sprinting 99. Your other kids are sprinting 99. Your siblings are sprinting 99. You've got to do 1 meter. That's what you've got to do. But you've got to want to do it, Mum. That's what we need. Oh, I'm all right. I'm fine. I can manage. I like a drink every now and then. She was found with a receipt with 2 bottles of wine in her pocket. The reason I know she died on the 4th of May. Her death certificate will say the 27th, I think it is, of June. She was found with a receipt in her pocket of her jeans for the 4th of May and an ATM withdrawal for £100. She was found with £90 in her pocket, 2 bottles of wine on the side, and an ATM receipt on the 4th of May for 100. So she'd taken 100 quid out. She bought 2 bottles of wine with £10 and there was 90 still in her pocket. But she could never admit she had that problem. The furthest I went down that road, Jonathan, to answer that question was I implored her to get help. But until they want to get help, you're stuffed. And you feel like a caged animal. There's nothing you can do. This is your parent. And what you got to remember as well is I'm then trying to bring up my kids to make sure that I'm the last one that suffers that. I don't want them to suffer any of what I've had to go through. I want to be the last of that generation and give you guys the best chance I possibly can. So yeah, I tried to, but you can't reason with the unreasonable.
So you must have been so angry with her.
Yeah, anger initially. Angry initially with her when she died. I wasn't bothered. That night, I wasn't bothered in the slightest. Your mum's dead. All right. Tell me something I don't know. She's been dead for years. Honestly, wasn't bothered. And then the anger grew towards her. How dare she have died and not tried to get better? Not even just for me, for my kids, for our grandkids. And then my anger turned to drink. And then my anger turned to choices. And then I started to realize when I educated myself and I spent time with people at Nacoa that it's not a choice, it's a disease. These people don't choose to ruin their own lives.
Yeah.
It's a legal drug that kills people more than any illegal drug going. But it's still not their choice. If they could see what was going on consciously, they were consciously aware, then I think they'd make different choices. When she was found, you just imagine this horrible greyscape. And in the kitchen, there was a pink shoebox wrapped in pink tissue paper. And it had little foam letters on the outside, love hearts, like someone would do at nursery. She'd done it at a crisis meeting. I came to find out. There's a point to this. Inside, there's a few trinkety things, and there's a letter. I treasure that letter. It says different things about her. Born, brought up on Marwood Road in Leicester, tough upbringing, one of many, scrapped with my siblings, apple scrumper, worked hard, different things. She said, need to decorate the flat. I wish I could see the kids more. That broke my heart.
So she did want to see you all.
Yeah.
So she knew she was missing something. But the drink stopped her from making the phone call when sober, presumably.
Yeah. And how do you live with that? How do you live with knowing that a substance is stopping not only you being a child, but you having a relationship with, as a boy, the most important person in my life, which was my mum. Because it had always been me and my mum from when I was 2. Because my dad lived in Kent, and that was might as well have been the Caribbean, because I saw him once a year. So it was always me and mum. Always me and mum against the world. You know, we'd get cold, we'd both put jumpers on together. She'd put me under her jumper and keep me warm. You know, it's us at Christmas, and, you know, I was that, got Satsumas in my Christmas stocking. I did, but it was normal. So don't cry a river for me, because it was fine. It was always us against adversity, you know? And she taught me that. So when the adversities come right at the end, why not acknowledge what's happened and ask for help? I was so angry. So angry. And Relate helped. Relate were really helpful with that.
It sounds like there's a tremendous amount of love there and maternal protection. So does there come a point where this just shifts? Or is it a gradual descent into alcohol abuse?
For my mum, I don't know. I spoke to some of my uncles about this, about where it came from, because I tried to find the source of her Nile, as it were. They said they were pulling her out of drinking dens when she was a teenager. She lost her dad young. She lost her mum relatively young. Her mum died when I was a baby, and she had me at 20. So in her early 20s, she was without her mum and dad. Do you know, I remembered something for the first time a week ago. And it's because I'm planning an event with some fellow children of alcoholics for Nacoa. We're planning on running with you.
Yeah.
A couple of marathons back to back. We'll get to that, I'm sure. But something sparked in my head that I hadn't remembered for 35 years. My little brother was 2. And he used to come up to his mum and say, or his dad, who I never refer to as the word that when you've got a second father, because you earn the title dad, whether it's a paternal dad or a stepdad. And my brother would come up to her and say, "Mummy, do you want a tsa?" And it took me ages to suss out what was going on. Tsa. And he'd always come up to her, "Mummy, tsa." And my mum would nod. And then he'd go to the fridge and he'd get a can of lager and he'd bring it. It's the ring pull.
Yeah.
And then the He was 2. Toys we used to play with, we'd make pyramids from the empty cans of Skull. Thought it was normal. And we'd just knock them down. It was great, because we'd make this big pyramid, and we'd sometimes make it 10, and then 9, and then 8, and this massive pyramid halfway up the house, halfway up the lounge. Oh, they go, yay, great. I remember my counsellor going, your toys were lager cans. You know, it wasn't ideal, it wasn't perfect, but I was angry. She was my maternal hero. And the hard bit is that I knew underneath all of it there was a great woman and a great mother, a very giving person, very giving mother, and
Did you talk about it with anyone growing up?
No. Who's going to listen? School don't get it. School knew.
They did know.
Yeah, they knew that there was violence in the house. I don't think it took Einstein to suss out that it was drink, because people on the street from my school saw police turning up on a semi-regular basis because of the domestic violence. Next door neighbour might call them, people over the road might call them. So Do you know, I don't even tell my dad. Do you know, to this day, I speak to my dad every day. He lives in Thailand. Because he's got 4 restaurants out there and he's doing really, really well. I'm really proud of him. I see him a couple of times a year. I love him. I remembered something the other day. I was with Angela, my wife. I just started crying. And this is because Callum Best and I, and Josh, and Scott, and a couple of other people, we've created a little group, and it's a useful group. Running aside, it's a useful group. But Callum said something on a call the other day, and it resonated. And Josh, and I remembered something that I'd not remembered for 35 years. I'd not even acknowledged for 35 years. And my dad doesn't know. He doesn't know to this day. And if he had known, there'd have been a problem. So it's funny as a kid how you hide things from people. School, teachers, friends, even my other parent. You know, I was getting... hit.
By your mum?
No. By a partner.
Yeah.
And I thought it was normal. Not always drinking juice, by the way. But, you know, memories are weird. How they come, and you just bury things. And, you know, in my closet, wardrobe, whatever, there's a few locked boxes still. I've unlocked loads, really well. Really, really well. The fact I can sit in front of you and I'm happy to share what I'm sharing, but you know, I'd forgotten for 30 years that I got hit at home. Pretty hard and pretty serious, but you know, I don't know why we do it, children of alcoholics. I don't know why. And I think it's really important. I wish I could change my own perception as a kid. And it doesn't work, I know, and it's education that's needed, but it's not our fault. We carry so much burden that it's our fault. And you don't want to upset other people, which is ridiculous. You're a kid. You deserve safety and sanctuary and protection and fun and education and freedom and all these fundamentals that we should have as kids. And all you want is to be able to tell your younger self, if you could, there's someone that can help. But I didn't know who that someone was because my dad didn't live close. I'm not blaming my dad.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Of course not.
My dad didn't live close. All my mates would play football with me. And football was my sanctuary. Football was great. Do you want to play football? Yeah. I'd do anything to get out of this house. We ain't got football. We'll play with a stone. We'll play with a tennis ball. I don't care. Let's go. So it's not my mates because I'm 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who to turn to. I wish I wish Nacoa were around when I was a kid, and evidently the service was being born, I think, around the time that I'm talking about, the early and mid-90s.
But you're now throwing yourself into this cause of supporting children of alcoholics. And there'll be so many listeners who will totally identify with what you're saying, who will commend your remarkable bravery in telling such a painful story. And I can see you're processing it as you're telling the story as well. And I suspect you've got such a range of emotions inside you right now. But I also know that even if there's times when you're thinking, you know, should I have said that bit? Or I feel guilty or whatever. You'll have a whole range of emotions going on.
Yeah.
But by telling your story, there'll be people out there who can never sell a story, but will be comforted and will be given support and will feel better hearing your story because it will it will tell them they're not alone. It'll tell them that what they're going through is something that they don't need to be ashamed of. They don't need to bottle up. That they can go and talk to somebody. They can go and get help. And that's why telling these stories is so powerful. It's why advocacy makes such a difference.
Yeah, and when you learn that it wasn't a choice and you learn that it's a disease, alcohol kills more people than any other drug. It's legal because it's taxed and there's an industry and lots of people make lots of money from it. But it's an addictive drug.
Yeah.
Let's not get away from that fact. Heroin's terrible. It is. Cocaine's terrible. It is. Alcohol's legal. It's great. Is it? Oh, you've had a bad day. Have a drink. Well, you want to do a line of cocaine, but it's legal, so it's okay. Well, it's regulated. Is it? Is it? Now, I'm the wrong guy to be speaking to about this because I have never drunk. Ever. I had a bottle of Beck's with my dad when I was 14 on holiday, and that's it. I was like, I don't fancy this. No, thank you. And I haven't drunk. On my wedding day, I had a champagne flute with Coke Zero in it or Coca-Cola in it. I don't at all. And it took me until 30 to realise why. I had no idea. And my wife said to me, do you not get it? Well, no, babe, why don't I drink? You leave school. Last day, everyone signed all their shirts. You go down and there's a few bottles of Bud going, oh, do you want one of these, Ian? No, I'm all right, lads, cheers. Got to 30 and she went, you don't know why you don't drink. I went, babe, I've no idea. She went, your mum's an alcoholic. You don't think that's why you don't drink? I went, oh, yeah, probably right. And I don't, and I never will.
But you run.
Slowly.
So you run.
Slowly.
So tell us about this absolutely balmy adventure you're making a bunch of us go on.
Yeah. I've got to confess that it was my idea, oddly. In 2022, I ran a marathon series for a Leicester-based charity called the Bodie Hodges Foundation. They support parents bereaved of a child after young Bodie died, sadly. God bless him, at 10 months. The charity is founded to support parents bereaved of a child. And so I wanted to do something to help and came up with, I was inspired by Serena Fines, who ran 7 marathons, 7 continents, 7 days, right? So we ran 5 marathons, 5 global cities, 5 days. So we ran Bangkok on Tuesday, Hawaii on Wednesday, Alaska on Thursday, New York Friday, Leicester Saturday. That's all fine. We raised loads of money. Great.
So you've already done 5 marathons in 5 days?
Yeah, in 5 cities, global cities. But the reason...
How the hell did you do that? You just say it. You just say it so matter-of-factly, as if it's like as simple as just walking down the street or something. It's like, sorry, what?
We trained for 2 years. We ran 2,000 miles in training, and we got it done. It was out of COVID, so it was difficult getting the flight sorted. But yeah, so the one thing that often needs explaining with that is we ran a marathon in Bangkok on Tuesday. We then ran a marathon in Hawaii on Wednesday, as in we went Bangkok, Hawaii, ran. Hawaii, Alaska, ran. There was no days in between. There was no rest. There was no hotels. Ran, plane, ran, plane, ran, plane. Finished in Leicester, 5 and 5. However, the reason this has come about...
I love the fact you got Bangkok, Hawaii. Where else did you say?
Alaska. New York.
Leicester. What a big finish. The crescendo.
Yeah. Well, the reason for that is the money was split 2 ways. It was Bodie Hodges Foundation and the Kum Vishai Foundation, who was a Leicester City chairman who sadly passed away in a helicopter accident. There was a statue of him in Bangkok and a statue of him in Leicester. So we ran from Bangkok, his statue, to his statue in Leicester. But in doing this happened, Jonathan. So we finished a marathon. We finished in Bangkok on Tuesday, okay? We got on a plane at 8:50 a.m., Bangkok, Tuesday. Flew to Japan, where we transited. We then flew on to Hawaii. We landed in Hawaii at 9 a.m., Tuesday. The flight was 10 minutes. It wasn't. It was 12 hours. But the flight was 10 minutes. And I remember thinking, we just time travelled. It's the same day.
Yeah.
That was in 2022. I've been looking for something to do since. Not job-wise, I'm pretty busy, but something to try and help. And at long last, I have, praise God, found Nacoa. And yeah, that's the charity for me. That is, I'm that kid. I am that child that needed help. And there are children today that need help. And there are children tomorrow that will need help. And the work Nacoa do to try and successfully get to those children and help and support, incredible. So I thought, right, I'd love to do something for Nacoa. And then I thought, oh, we kind of time traveled-ish. What can we do? What can we play there? And so I tried to find somewhere that bisected the international dateline. And I found somewhere. American Samoa is 24 hours ahead of Western Samoa. They're 100 miles apart. So if you run in American Samoa, a marathon, on Sunday, right? You start at 3 a.m. You run a slow one. It's 6 hours, 9 a.m. Get on a plane. There's 4 planes a day. You fly half an hour to Western Samoa. It's now Saturday. You've gone back in time because you've gone over the dateline, right? So you're now landing at midday, Saturday, having run a marathon already that day, Sunday.
So you're going back in time?
You go back in time. So it's now Saturday. You've already run on Sunday, marathon. Well done.
It's now Saturday.
Congratulations.
So you actually ran your marathon tomorrow?
Yes, because it's Saturday. If you then run another marathon. Yeah, you've gone. So when you're booking flights, you book it, take off 26th, land 25th. Suss that one out. You then run a marathon in Western Samoa on Saturday. Your watch, Garmin or whoever, will tell you you've run a marathon the day before the one you've just done. So effectively, you can chase yesterday. And as children of alcoholics, we would love to chase yesterday. I would love to go back to that bathroom that night and do something. I don't know what something is, but I'd love to do something. It was always going to take her, but I'd love to give her some dignity. And what we're doing's, the running's easy. It's the traumatic shit that we're digging out that's difficult. And, you know, if you could go to yesterday, what would you do? If you could chase yesterday, what would you do? And so a group of us, you included, are going to, on the 26th of July next year, 2026, and then the 25th of July, 2026, we're going to run a marathon yesterday, having run one today. Ultimately, it's 53 miles in not very long. But we're going to chase yesterday, and we're going to run, and we're going to raise a lot of money.
Yeah. And in doing so, we're going to give children affected by this a better tomorrow.
I hope so, mate. I hope so. We can do the running.
Well, Ian, it's been an absolute privilege to talk to you. It's the first time I've spoken to you.
Yeah, likewise.
Thank you for sharing such a raw, personal, and honest story. I can identify with some of your story, obviously, as a fellow child of an alcoholic. You know, I went through a period of not speaking to my dad for a couple of months, and then he was dead. And I got the call. But not in the circumstances that you got that call. Nothing like that.
We don't compare grief.
No.
So, you know, we've all been through it, and it's crap for all of us. And can you imagine if we can help one kid?
Yeah.
Imagine that one kid, that you, me, Josh, Callum, that one kid that you get to that go, by the way, when they're seen at school and they're really struggling, the teacher goes, I got half an idea here, because the teacher's been educated by Nacoa and the teacher's got an awareness. The teacher goes, right, I can help out here, and intervenes. You imagine? How great is that? If that can happen, and that could have been me, could have been my brother or sister, could have been you. And that's why we'll sweat a bit. It'll be difficult. Take 35 hours to fly to Samoa in economy. We'll get there, and we'll do it, because if we can raise money to help this incredible charity that not only helps and supports, but actually this is a real process for us runners, because we're all kind of going through different things at the same time, and it's a bit of a healing process. But I reckon we'll manage it, mate, and we'll hopefully help some of the kids of tomorrow.
We certainly will. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.